So today I had the great privilege of interviewing David Williams. He is a silver leader on our doTERRA team out of Louisiana, and his story is truly amazing. He has had a health journey that, just blows my mind. Not only did he actually struggle with cancer and go through years of chemotherapy, but also God gave him these three beautiful foster children that he's adopted and taking care of them, all three of them with special needs. And so in this interview, he just shares with us how doTERRA has really helped him in his journey and with his children, and really supporting their bodies and the amazing blessing that these oils have given them. So I hope you really enjoy this and learn something and are as inspired as I am.
Scale, and that's just very minimal of what doTERRA has done for him in his life. With puberty, we're going through emotional changes, also accepting himself for who he is and how he is, and just the acne and everything that goes along with puberty. And you may think that special needs kids are not aware, or they're just, especially him. It's he's one of my three children that just seems to always go with the flow, and everything fixes him, and he's very easy to manipulate and get him to go in a different direction other than the other two. Not like the other two, but he's easy. And but we always take for granted what we think they're feeling, because they don't express as much as other people do. And it bothers Kale. And Kale likes to look good, and he likes to feel good, and he likes to be part of society now, which before doTERRA, Kale was content with just being in his room watching his tablet or watching TV, and now he's actually initiating conversations with people, and we're taken back because we're not used to it. So we're walking in public, and Kale stops a stranger and says, "Hi, I'm Kale. What's your name?" It's like, well, wait, we don't want you to start getting in people's faces, but he's starting to initiate conversation. That's big for Kale, because he was never that way before. But with Emmy, she's our 10-year-old. Emmy is autistic and comes from a very horrific situation in her biological home. When we got Emmy, she was 4.5 years old. She's now 10. She weighed 18 pounds. Was severely malnourished and abused by her mother, and so nonverbal, and never developed chewing. Until today, she still doesn't chew. And we're hoping that, and we're praying that eventually changes, because she's grown in so many different areas that we're hoping that one day she'll just get it, that she'll start chewing. So everything has to be pureed. And she does process things now that she's venturing and feeling more comfortable with. It's like it built her confidence to a point where she's trusting enough to be able to do it, and trust us to introduce her to foods that she's never been introduced to before, or had never wanted to try before. She's now at least attempting to, because in her situation, with all the sensories, her main sensory is smell. So if it doesn't pass the smell test, she's not doing it. She's not touching it or trying to process it. It's not going anywhere. So her strongest sensory is smell. But nonverbal when we got her, like I said. And then so we started working with her and going through different therapies and school. And since doTERRA, she's opened up. Like her verbally, she's amazing. And the child can sing like an angel. And we're trying to get her a singing coach now, but she sings so beautifully, it's unbelievable. And wants to communicate with people. But the most powerful breakthrough with Emmy was, we were with doTERRA for probably about, I would venture to say, about 5 months, when we first started noticing the change in her accepting touch. You never, in the first years that we've had her until doTERRA, you couldn't hug her, and of course she would never initiate a hug. So she was always shying away, and we're Cajun people. We love hugging and we love people, and we just want that for our children. Well, she never did. And she would always shun away and never accept love or being shown love. And I'll never forget the day we were standing in the kitchen, and I was standing in the kitchen, and she actually came up from behind me and didn't hug, but just put her hand on my back, which is major. Just something that simple that we take for granted was major for her. And I didn't make any, I didn't like change anything. I didn't make a big to do of it to make her frightened of it, but she just put her hand on my back. And that was the first time she actually ever touched one of us. So we gradually worked into, now she's hugging. At the time, like I said, when we first got her, she was like 18, 19 pounds. Now she's like 100 pounds, and now she wants to be in your lap constantly. So, we went from not wanting any type of contact whatsoever to now hugging and actually watching a whole movie with the family. Before, her time span was like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and now we're watching a whole movie as a family together. So I can't stress enough how important it is to try it, but not to just stay and be complacent in your regimen. Because we've changed. I can't even count how many times we've changed. I'm talking about from what we diffuse to what she wears topically to what she ingests. And to get her to ingest any oil is major, because her sensories are so in tune that I can't pass anything. Like, it took me probably 4 months to pass the PBSS Junior in her. She only drinks Pediasure, only strawberry Pediasure. She will never drink water. I have to syringe water in her to get her to drink it. But so she only drinks strawberry Pediasure, only liquid she takes in. So I tried passing it in that, and she wouldn't do it. So finally, I think from just consistently throwing it away and trying it, a couple of boxes of the powder, she finally started taking it. And what I do is I put like 1/4 of a packet per can, per sippy cup, and she finally started taking it. And now we okay. But I had to introduce it to her slowly instead of throwing it away every time. But yeah, it's an ongoing change, because we change it. I try to change it often. I will say that the new kids pack, the new kids, the what?
Yeah. So
The little kid, yeah, the new children's kit, has been amazing. Every morning, I roll on guard, of course, under her feet, and I do steady, and that under her feet is on guard and steady. Before it was in tune, and I find steady's working a lot better. It's really helping her a lot. I put steady on her wrist, on the insides of her wrist, and I also we always do DDR prime up and down the spine on a daily basis, morning and night. But I started putting thinker on the sides of her neck, and we do frankincense on the back of the neck. And in the last 3 weeks, since we have been diligent on just that regimen, her teachers are writing notes constantly and documenting constantly because of the change. Like, for instance, she has a horrible time accepting a baby crying or any type of child crying. She can't tolerate it. Her fingers go in her ears, and she gets very abusive, and she wants to stop. It's not like she's trying to hurt the person, but she wants to stop them from crying. So her aggression is always squeezing, but she's strong. So it's a hard squeeze. So anyway, we went from, in the last 3 weeks, it's been 3 to 4 weeks, that we went from, because there's a little boy in her classroom that cries a lot. So we went from her trying to attack him by squeezing him to actually comforting him. So we're noticing that thinker makes her focus a lot better than Intune ever did. Not saying that we're not gonna have to go back, but since we're on thinker on the sides of her neck and the steady, it's been a lot better. And this is why I firmly believe this is, I think everything else I was trying, like balance made her go completely crazy, where it works wonderful on my other 2 children. But because when a child is very active, if you look at ADD or ADHD, and a child is very, very active, and they put them on, God forbid, any medicine, that calms them down, it works for them because it actually speeds them. It actually increases their level so that they can focus better. With Emmy, what I've found by using just steady is everything else is too strong. So it was sedating her more than allowing her to be more creative. So with that, and we started tweaking with steady, and then at the beginning I was using also a little bit of serenity on the bottom of her feet. Even that with the steady was too much. So she was actually, what she was going through was fighting us trying to calm her down when she's not wanting to be calm. We were actually stifling her creativity. And she works on that level. So when we try to stop that, it really aggravates her. And that's when we see all this aggressive. So now that we know that steady's working, I'm not changing it for a little while. I do still tweak their diffusers in their bedrooms because I don't want them, I like trying to do a change. And I'm talking about every other month. I'm not talking about every week we change anything, but by every other month, I feel like I need to try to change a little bit. Like if I see that she's very agitated, I might put cedarwood or vetiver in her diffuser to get her a good night's sleep. So I am still tweaking diffuser wise, but as far as what she's wearing topically, I'm staying with this regimen because it's been amazing for her. And she comes home smiling instead of aggravated because the bus may have taken a different turn. She's very programmed. So it's working. And thank God for the new kids line because it's helping us because of the not having to try 3 or 4 different things when there's one bottle that's actually working. So it's really working for us. So that's been the latest of doTERRA. I'm trying to do more internally, like especially for care with cerebral palsy. I do use the aroma touch on he has cerebral palsy only on the right side. So he has a lot of atrophy in his leg, which is more in the thigh area. So I applied that. I rolled that on the back of his leg every night before bedtime. That's the last thing that he gets before bedtime. And I find that's been helping. We are meeting with a physical therapist to change a little bit of his physical therapy. And they're also allowing me to bring doTERRA in so they can use it on him while he's actually having therapy. So I'm hoping that helps a little bit because I've been noticing, and I don't want to go into surgeries again because we've been there, done that. So we're trying to do what we can, but I feel like the aroma touch, but also using the aroma touch therapy on Kale works. And he's accepting that. Before Kale would have never laid still he doesn't want to be still. So, but Tammy actually can verify what I'm saying about the aroma touch with Kale. She was actually touched by him allowing her to do it on him. And it was actually, you could tell the anxiety in him by getting on the table. He really wasn't trusting enough to get on the table, but he finally broke down and got on the table. Once he was relaxed and Tammy started the process on him, the whole technique on him, it was amazing how he accepted it and it actually helped him because of the muscles. But I could, there's so much I can say about doTERRA, the way it's changed our lives. My number one favorite is the Vitality Pack. I can't do without the Vitality Pack. And what works for me is morning, I could take 2 sets in the morning and 2 sets at lunchtime. I can't take it later than 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I can't sleep. It just gives me too much energy. Not that it's a horrible energy, it's just that I just can't rest. I have to take it early to be able to rest at night. But the energy that it gives me to be able to keep on going with the 3 kids is phenomenal. I mean, I get so much done. But I feel good. And that's the thing about the Vitality Pack is from the chemotherapy and the radiation, I suffer a lot with neuropathy in my hands and my feet. And since I started the Vitality Pack, and now with all the, we have so much all the new oils, it's been amazing. Turmeric in my capsule morning and night. I actually have the most minimal pain I've ever had in the last 3 years. So that in my regimen in the morning with my Vitality Pack, and I also add a few other things in my capsule, in my veggie cap every morning. I've realized that, and not, you know how you're going through something and you're so used to feeling it, the pain is always there. So when it's changing, you really don't notice it at first until your body's like, stop a minute, you're not hurting as much. And because before I still can't walk with bare feet on the floor because I'm the nerve endings, but now I'm able to walk with socks. So that's a big thing for me, because before I had to wear shoes 24/7 because I couldn't step on the floor with just sock feet. So since the turmeric added to everything else, or turmeric, it's amazing, and the nerve ending pain is not as bad as it was.
So David, tell me, so you had cancer, and then how long were you in treatment for the cancer?
I had 28 rounds of radiation before chemotherapy even started, and I had 2 full years of chemotherapy. It was a regimen where I would wear a pump on my side that was connected to my port for 3 days, off the pump, rest the day, then have the chemotherapy actually at the building. So for 2 years, I went pretty much 3 times a week for port flushes and a different chemotherapy. So for 2 years straight, I had chemotherapy and several surgeries.
So how long was it after that you started with doTERRA?
I was diagnosed, I was told I was in remission October 21st of, I forgot the year. That's horrible, but I did. But I started doTERRA November of that same year. So I was told I was cancer-free in October, and I started doTERRA in November.
Now, I think I remember April telling me you were pretty hesitant to even consider the oils. And like you said at the beginning, you kind of watched her for a little bit, right? You were
2 years. I didn't actually just watch her. I actually made fun of her for 2 years because she was posting her post on doTERRA and giving testimonies and watching people actually tell their story on doTERRA, or just not just telling the story, but just sharing, like typing in and making and sending out messages about how doTERRA did this for me, and there's an oil for everything. And I'm like, April, I mean, come on, there's an oil for everything. And I honestly believe that what put me off, what made me a little bit more back offish, was I had experienced an oil person before April that was constantly putting oil on people. It was where my little girl went to school, and she was constantly trying to push oils on you, and not to actually sell it to you, but to try to sample it. And I'm like, just back away. Like, I don't want this on me. Like, just back up. And I think she set my mood on oils. And so in that same time that she was pushing her oils and trying to make, well, I have that for a headache, and I have this for that, and you could do this for fever. And April comes on Facebook and she starts with her oil life thing, her oil life stories, and I'm like, oh God, not another one. Like, I can't believe all these people are going on this oil journey, and there's an oil for everything. Like, how could you claim that there's an oil for everything? So for 2 years, I actually made fun of April and said, oh God, here she is again. There's another oil for this and another oil for that. And then, God has to tell you and bring you down to your knees and say, okay, look, it's time. You need something. So this is what we have. This is what I have available. And that morning when April posted a post on Facebook, I'm like, it's worth a try. What else can I do? I mean, I am desperate. I need to do something. And lo and behold, it was the answer for my family. That I can't stress enough the importance of not just doTERRA and us trying to be as natural as we can by even using doTERRA to just clean your house or to do anything with. I mean, my house is totally chemical free. We do everything with doTERRA now. And I laugh often when I'm cleaning house or mixing solutions to work in the house. And I'm like, I always, and I always go back to watching April for 2 years. I'm like, look at this, I'm mixing this to do this, and I'm mixing this to clean this. And I'm like, oh my God, I used to love my Fantastic. And now it's like, there's no chemicals in my house. So, it just, until you get into it and until you realize how much harm we're actually doing to our family by using the products that we loved using. And until you learn it, it really baffles you at times, because it's like, you really think you're doing a good thing and you're really harming everything in your house. So by using the products also just to clean in the house, just that in itself, something so simple, and the cost you save. You don't realize, I had to actually go into the dishwashing aisle the other day because I ran out of what I usually get on Amazon. So I'm walking down the aisle to get dishwashing liquid, and the smell of all the chemicals from the aisle was unbelievable to me, when you never noticed that before. We're so used to using it. And now it's like, my God, I hadn't been here in a year. And now just the smell of being down this aisle is sticking. So, people may think in the oil world, and we live trying to live as natural as we can, they may think, oh, it's taking all these oils to feel better, but it's actually helping everything. So until people realize that it's not just putting a drop of oil in a bottle or putting a drop of oil neat on your body, it's everything. I mean, just how it could change your whole dynamics of your household, even by just cleaning and saving money by doing it. It blows my mind. So, there's just so much to offer, and just to know how much it helped my children, it's just so overwhelmingly gratifying, because honestly, where my 3 children came from, and I haven't even talked about Camry, and how much it's helped her. We're facing possibly rheumatoid arthritis with her. She's Down syndrome. And because of the critical neglect that she had, she's only 3 feet tall and she's 13 years old, from neglect, from thyroid neglect. She has a serious thyroid problem and had never been to the doctor from the time she was born till she was 10. So by them not addressing any of her situations, she's having a lot of complications. So, and it's affected her growth, and we're handling all that now. But we're now facing possible rheumatoid arthritis, but we just did all the blood work yesterday. But with that said, the doctor was already ready to rip out her prescription pad and start her on medications without even diagnosing my child. I'm like, stop. You're not writing, you could write them, but I'm not filling them until the test results come back. And there's got to be something that we can treat her with besides medication. And she says, well, then why did you come to me? And I went, what you mean, why did I come to you? And I said, I need a diagnosis. I'm actually here for a diagnosis, not the care yet. I'm just here to find out what's wrong with my child. And we're going to take it. And my choice is to take it from there, not for you to start again. And lo and behold, we left with a prescription. So, and I'm not filling it until I know what's wrong with my child. But they're so eager to write prescriptions and not even having a diagnosis yet, that I'm not willing to do anymore. Before I'd have followed the doctor, and we're going to do what we have to do to help my child. But once I get the diagnosis, I'm going to decide the treatment, the protocol for treatment. And I know we have a lot of things in our product line that can help her without having to take the medication. And the first side effect I read when we got home and I looked up the medication that she wrote the prescription for was liver damage. Well, I'm not going to start her on a medication and it's not just a chance, it is proven that it will cause liver damage over time. Well, why would I do that? I'm not willing to just start her on something when you didn't tell me yet what my daughter had. So, time will tell, and once I get the results, I'm going to decide how I'm going to treat her. But I have no doubt in my mind that we're not going to treat her with doTERRA. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. So I think what I'm trying to, what I'm going to try to do is try to figure out how we could get it into her internally, because she can't swallow pills. So to take a gel cap or anything. So I'm going to have to try to figure out how we're going to get it to her. So it's just an ongoing everyday. There's challenges, and of course we do have our bad days. I'm not saying that doTERRA is the win-all situation for every situation we face, because God only knows if there's not. Emmy doesn't eat any ice cream other than at McDonald's with hot fudge sundae. She eats a hot fudge sundae. Lo and behold, the machine's broken. Before, she used to break the headrest of the car with her head, so we had to pork and diffuse that. Now she accepts that if the machine's broken, we okay. There's an alternative to that. So just knowing that we have an oil or a product in our line that can help do those things is, for the parent of a special needs child, it's good to know that we have something to back us up. Because before, it was either you're going to put them on medication, make them a zombie, and let the medication babysit your child, or now we know that they can feel their feelings, work through their feelings, but we have an oil for that. Honestly, you have an oil for that. So, it just rest assured, it just lets us as the parent rest a little bit easier that when we're going out into the public, we can treat by applying oils that we know works on a daily basis for them, even if it's just at school, going into society and going into a large function of people, that we can tweak that. Before, it was you just took your chances, and when the child started acting up, you left. Well, it's teaching them that if they're in a situation that they don't really like, but the family needs to be there, if they start acting out, you're leaving. Now with the oils, they're easier to accept where they are, and to also start participating in the situations that they never were able to participate before. And we're talking like simple things like going to the zoo. There was times when we would go to the zoo, we actually stopped going to the zoo for a short period of time because of how Emmy would react. If it was a certain animal noise, well, you're at a zoo, you can't control the animal noises, so what you're going to do? You walk away from the situation and you leave. Well, we just went through a situation where if Emmy's finished with something, regardless if it's a task or a food or anything else, when she's done, it's done. There's no turning back. We recently went to the zoo for the Christmas lighting, and if you were in the zoo already, you had to leave the zoo, get back in line to get back into the event. Well, that Emmy doesn't do that well. If she's leaving, she's leaving. So we oiled her up before it was time to leave the zoo. It was still some reaction, but it was so minimal that we were able to enjoy, the other kids and us were able to enjoy the actual event. Before, everybody would have been so miserable, everybody would have just left. So now knowing if there's a protocol before the actual event happens with her, we can rest assured that we can at least just go with it a little bit, and it's not going to be as bad as, or sometimes even not, but now it's not as bad on the whole family, and the other kids don't miss out because Emmy's having a meltdown. So there's just so many different things.
I mean, you're supporting their bodies, but I hear you really using them preventatively to really, you're thinking intuitively, all right, I know my child, I know a situation, we're going to oil up before the situation happens to help support her emotions and her body so she can, like you already said, work through her own emotions.
Correct.
To be able to do the activity or all those things. So what very specifically, what are the ones, I know you say you shift around the oils a lot. That is so smart to do. I love that you mentioned that because I think you can even agree with this. When you first get into oils, it can be really overwhelming. All the different choices and all the different things. But David, you seem to have kind of just been like, all right, let's just try stuff, right?
You have to. Yeah. You have to learn your child. You have to learn what works on your child, But you have to also be open to be able to try different things and know and document what works, because what may work for one may not work for the other. And in Emmy's case, what didn't work one time may work the next time. So it's constantly changing to just keep her where she needs to be comfortable. And I haven't mentioned frankincense, and my God, that's the #1 oil in our house. I do put frankincense in the on guard. Frankincense is mixed with the on guard to go under the feet, but I also put frankincense on the back of the neck. So I put frankincense on the back of the neck, and where I stop with frankincense is where the DDR prime starts and goes down the spine to the tailbone. So that's every morning and night they get frankincense. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, frankincense is mixed with on guard to put on their feet. And I found that in some cases, for Kale, when Kale is having a really rough time, because on Mondays and Wednesdays, they go to school all day. Then we have ABA therapy from 3:30 to 6:30. But their Mondays and Wednesdays are full days till 6:30 at night. When I read him, when he gets off the bus, in some cases on the Monday or the Wednesday, he's done. They've worked him hard all day at school. He's been socializing all day. If they had choir that morning, or regardless, any extra activities that they do besides their actual school day, I know it when he gets off the bus. He's done. And they go out into the community, so they go shopping and they visit the elderly homes. And so when I know that there's an extra activity, I could tell by the expression on his face, he's done. But then I know that he has 3 more hours of therapy in the afternoon. So I'll diffuse frankincense in the room that they're working in. And you could see it. He just starts to just melt and get into that realm where he starts to focus and he starts to pay attention to them and actually participates. Before, Jesus, it was like there was nothing. Like he may have had maybe 40 minutes of participation in the 3 hours. And with ABA, I don't know if you're familiar with ABA or not, but it's one-on-one and it's adaptive to their behavior at the time. So it's always positive reinforcement. There's never, you never put in time out. You always put in time in. It's always constantly positive reinforcement, constantly. And so, but even just always being positive, there was always some of those days where he's done. And look, we're all done. We all have those moments in our day where we're just done. But we're adults and we keep on going. And with children, it's like, you're giving them the best you can, but they don't get that. So with the frankincense being diffused, you just see it happen. And it just brings them to level and he participates. So, and it actually helps the ABA therapists that are dealing with them to relax. So it's a win-win situation, and they're like, what do you have in here? Well, it's frankincense, or it might be a little bit high, but everybody's relaxed and everybody's doing their business. So you have to be able to tweak it, and you have to be able to learn them enough to know which works when, and constantly change it. And sometimes you may be like, well, I don't want to change this because it's working, but is it going to work forever? And maybe this might work better. So let's try something to make it better. And maybe it doesn't, but you're going to know, you document everything and you know what works and don't work. And you don't do it again if it doesn't work. So, it's just, thank God we do have, and it, like you said, it does get overwhelming with all the products we have, but thank God we do, because what may work for you may not work for me. And if we have that capability to be able to experiment, then we're not stuck with just 3 oils, So, and another thing I have to say too is, what I like about doTERRA, and I mean this totally from the bottom of my heart, is I know that when I'm doing doTERRA, when I'm ingesting doTERRA, or if I'm applying it, or if my children are ingesting it, there's not a shadow beyond a doubt that I know that it's a pure oil. And if anybody doesn't understand when we say as doTERRA that our oils are pure oils, just do a little bit of research. It doesn't take much research to figure out that we do have a pure oil, and most people don't. Most other companies don't. I know that when I'm giving it to my child, just like I choose not to put them on medication, I also have a choice to know that the product that I'm using on my children are the best on the market. I wouldn't do it otherwise. It would be like being hypocritical. If I'm not going to give him medication, why would I give him a supplement or an oil that I know is not top notch? So it's just food for thought, because some people don't research it. And after you do research it, and I'm not big into researching, but when I did it, when it comes to my children, I'm going to do what I have to do to know. And it's just so reassuring that I know that the product that we're using is pure, and it's just where you need to be, you know. So I like being confident in that. So we're just gonna keep on oiling.
I like it. So, do you give your kids any of the supplements? I mean, I know you said PB Assist. I know it's hard for them to take things internally, but you've worked up with PB Assist. They take the chewable enzyme or the vitamin or enzymes or anything.
The chewables I can do with kale with my son, but I crush it. Like I smash it in the spoon. Camry doesn't do it. She just can't take the taste. And Emmy, you're not passing that by. I've tried I've tried pureeing it in food. I've tried anything and everything I can. She's not doing it. So I just can't get the vitamin in her. But kale does it. I do break it up for kale. It's really kind of hard for him to chew. But I just break it up and he takes it. I put it in orange juice.
Yeah.
So he just drinks it. But he's easier.
Yeah. And so some standbys for you guys. Obviously, you said frankincense, DDR prime, probably papaya. What about Melissa? Do you guys use Melissa ever, or is that one that you kind of cycle?
Well, at one point with kale, before we tried, actually Tammy drove up here one day. Tammy was coming to teach a class. This is when we was first getting into doTERRA. And she can actually hear kale from my driveway from in the house. And he was having a meltdown. And she walks in and says, this child needs we need to do a drop of Melissa on this child. And sure enough, she gave me a little sample of Melissa, and that was a life changer for Kale. That was the beginning of his journey. I don't have to use it all the time anymore with Kale because of everything else that we have available. Steady works amazing for him. But when he really needs to be a little bit more fine-tuning than what we usually use, like frankincense, I do use Melissa on occasion. But when we were introduced, when Tammy gave me the samples and we tried it on Kale, and actually I was just using it on topically. I put it behind the ear. And we were having a really, really bad day one day with Kale, and I actually put a drop under his tongue, and he slept for like 2 hours and woke up really refreshed. So yeah, this house will never be without frankincense, Melissa, vetiver, and cedarwood. We'll never run out of those for all. So yeah, Melissa, I never even thought of thinking it. I hadn't even thought of talking about Melissa, but when Tammy actually witnessed it that day that he was having a really bad meltdown, and when I say really bad meltdowns with Kale, it's more self-harming. It's a memory of something that happened, and it could have been from biological, or it could have been from one of the 8 other foster homes from before us. But that's the other thing I wanted to say about, and I'm glad you brought Melissa up. Using Melissa, he was able to actually start verbalizing the garbage. So Melissa brought that out of him, started to bring that out of him, and we're now getting a little bit clearer picture of his whole being. Because now he's bringing up people's names that he actually lived with that abused him. So we know, and now he's telling us situations like one foster home, if he had an accident, she'd give him a cold shower. So with the Melissa, it's been able to, I think what it is it helps him slow down enough so that he can verbalize or have like slow him down enough to where the thinking process and to get the picture of little segments of the recording in his brain that he can finally stop and tell you that piece of his story. And what we've learned is, and his therapist also realized, is because of doTERRA and because of using ours on him, we're now getting a little bit more of him being more secure of being able to tell. Because if you think about it, if they're put through so much trauma, most cases it's going to be locked in forever, and they're not going to talk about it. If you can't tap into that, you're never going to help them. So by being able to let him release all those little pieces, a little piece at a time, we're noticing that he's more acceptable to walking into a room and saying, I love you, or I'm home. Like the first time Kale ever expressed that he was home was maybe 4 years after we got him. Because if you think about it, he was 6 years old when we got him. He'd been to 9 different homes. We were his 9th foster home, plus his biological situation, which was horrific. So every time Kale saw a suitcase, he'd lose his mind. And we're not like that. So we were getting ready to go to Disney, and I bring out all the suitcases, and we're packing, and we're all excited to go to Disney. The child actually threw 4 suitcases down the staircase because he didn't want to pack. We don't think of that. We don't realize that. I'm excited, and our bands had just come in, and we're going to Disney, and we had just gotten Emmy. So we all going to Disney. So we bring out the suitcases, and everybody's packing, and Kale goes ballistic. And I'm like, what's going on? This child has never acted this way before. We never used a suitcase until that trip. I always use like little backpacks and stuff. Well, when he saw a suitcase, he thought he was moving again. And he actually, when he threw the suitcases down, he said, I'm not moving out of this house. I'm staying, this is my home. And I'm like, oh my God, Kale, never realized, we all going together. This is a family trip. We had to pick all suitcases up and pack after they were sleeping because Kale would not let suitcases stay out. So things like that, we take so for granted because we're not like that. So with doTERRA in our life now, it's like he's just learned to express himself enough to be able to get past some of these little demons that haunted him. And now when a suitcase comes out, it's like, oh, we're going to a hotel? Yes, we're going to a hotel, and we're going as a family. So trust and being able to now process little simple things in his life simply process things that happen in his life and be able to verbalize it and just get it out has been tremendous for Kale. So Melissa was our door opener to that garbage, that storage that he had from before. And what helps us too is by scanning them once a week. If I see something's kind of off, I'll scan them. And, of course, you could follow what you choose to follow what the scanner tells you or not. But I always kind of modify what some of the oils that they use and not use them all. And sometimes I do use them all. But the scanner also helps us, when I know that something's kind of off, I'll always scan them. So there's just so much we can do. It's just never ending.
That is so great. I love hearing about your family. And
What?
I love hearing about the family and the
Oh,
kids.
thank you.
I loved
It's been
meeting
amazing.
them a few weeks ago at the doTERRA party.
Yes, it was nice.
And I'm so excited about their growth. And I know that there's more to come. The more that we learn about the oils, the more that we are experimenting, the more benefit I know that there is to come. And so
Exactly.
really, just your story is amazing, very inspiring. And
Thank you.
God's really at work, and your
Oh,
family.
yes, he is. Yes, he is. I truly firmly believe that. And I know that we're in a God-based business. I think doTERRA really believes in God, and it helps us to know that we're all going in the same direction. It's an amazing place to be. It really is.
Thank you so much, David, for your time today, for your story. And I want to
Thank you very much.
and see all the next things that are going to be happening for the kids and for yourself. It's so exciting.
No problem. Yes, looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Okay, have a
Talk
great
to you soon. You too. Thanks.